really sitting in a parking lot for about an hour and a half. But the most important thing is that I don't want to get a reputation, because being late for me is really, really not a good thing. And sometimes you say, you know, Spanish style, mañana, and the reality is I don't believe in that. So I'm glad to be here, and I really, really thank you for waiting, and I was willing to come back next week if necessary. Before I take your questions, I would just like to make a few statements. I have been to this district several times in the last few weeks, but I was certainly at one of your schools many times, I think 3 times already, and that's MS 80. And I want to say very publicly that I think the principal there and many of the teachers are really trying to do some really, really good work. I'm also sending more people next week to visit the school to do even more work in terms of English language learners and special ed. And one thing that the mayor and I have committed ourselves to, and I might say also the UFT, Michael Mulgrew, certainly Ernie Logan from CSA, that under no circumstances are we closing any schools. That is not what we're doing. That is not what we expect to do. And our philosophy is to support and to do what we can to make the school the best it can be. So certainly MS 80 and any other school that's on the renewal list, our plan is to send in more support, more staff developers, more after-school programs, a real heavy look at how do we support students with health services. Anything that we think that school needs, we're going to do. And this is something that the mayor ran on this commitment. I believe in it, very part of my being, so we have put together a renewal team of people that are going to do nothing but try to support these schools. So I know there was a lot of rumors going around today, and I want to tell you point blank that it's not true. There are certain things that the state has asked us to do and will ask us to continue doing based on the new budget, but our plan is to continue to support, and should at another time some other decisions need to be made, the first people who will know will be the people in the school, but it will be done in a way that's official, in writing, and that doesn't allow for any rumors. So make sure that if you ever hear something, say, what does the chancellor say? I want to see it in writing. So I thank you, and I thank the superintendent for her support on this and many other issues.
Chancellor, how are you strategizing around the perception of failing schools that were once strong community schools that have been broken down into smaller schools? How are you shifting the perception of low grades on CCSS tests being equal to failing teachers when the tests are assessing skills that are way above level?
And you want all that in one answer? Okay.
Not to
Well, the renewal schools, of which I visit at least 4 a week, was just one in this morning, have become schools that have been neglected for too long. Because the system, rightly or wrongly, has allowed schools to fail so they could close them. And what happened is the minute there's a whiff that something's going to close, people start leaving, parents, teachers, everybody. And we've got to stop that, because I do believe that we can turn most of our schools around. The only thing I'm actually concerned about where schools are too small, I mean, we have a school with 60 kids in it. That's not fair to anybody. You don't have services. When you have 60 kids in a building, how can we service them? But I think the other thing is that teachers need to also be very cognizant of the fact, and principals, and parents too, that they have to brand their own schools. I'll give you an example. I was in a school today, middle school in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and that school only has like 150 kids. I would put my grandchild in that school in a minute. But I said to her, what's your enrollment? She says, nobody knows we're here. I said, what do you mean nobody knows you're here? I know you're here, I came. She says, no, we're not zoned, we were out of the loop. Elementary school, I never met any of my elementary school principals because I was in this network, they were in that network. One of the reasons for the restructuring is so that elementary schools and middle schools will have to talk to each other and go back to the days when they start doing school visits where a principal, in this particular situation, the superintendent met me there, and I said to the superintendent, the next parent coordinator meeting, that you have in this school. So the parent coordinators can see the school and see the marvelous teaching. I mean, 25 kids in the class, middle school, every kid had a computer. I mean, a lot of great things, but you know, you need to brand yourself, and you also, and I know, for example, that schools get a reputation, and then no one wants to go to that school. And sometimes those are the schools that are going to give your kids the most attention because they want your business. It's like being a client, you know. Macy's doesn't need you, but this new store that's opening up wants your business, and they can do everything they can. So I would say that's part of what I've asked all the superintendents to work on, what I call hidden treasures. The schools that are doing a good job, and that a lot of people don't know about. And how did middle schools and elementary schools start working more closely together so that the guidance counselors go to visit the schools, PTA presidents visit each other's schools, but it also means that principals have to have open houses and be willing to visit us. No one nowadays is going to take your word for the fact that you have a good school. You've got to prove it. So how do you brand yourself, and then how do you open yourself to visitors?